I want you to meet Cary White. Cary is one of the very first of 2 graduates of the TUMI program. Please welcome Cary White.
Good evening, everybody. I brought back a lot of memories. Boy. Thank you. Yeah, that brought back a lot of memories. I graduated from the Urban Ministry Institute. I did 2.5 years of the Urban Ministry Institute in prison and a year on the outs. And I've been brought to tears. This is 4 times now, this evening. It really touches my heart that all of you guys that have funded World Impact and Prison Fellowship have really changed my life. You've touched my family's life, and I just want to say thank you so much. Okay, I was supposed to give my testimony, and I'm supposed to start at my childhood, and I'm already over there, but thank you, really thank you. My name's Cary White. I'm 35 years old, and I was born and raised in the city of Escondido. My childhood was sweet. I came from a middle-class background. My dad was a motorcycle cop for the Escondido Police Department and became the chief of police, raising up the ranks. My mom was a waitress at Wagon Wheel. For Christmases, we had these huge Christmases with like $200, $300, $400 worth of gifts. And I remember my dad talking to my mom saying, "Tracy, do we really need to do this?" And, I was there in the background going, "Yes, I want those presents, But I wasn't a product of my environment. I didn't go outside and see gangs on the corner or people drinking alcohol or prostitutes and pimps running around the streets. I never heard a gunshot once in the product or in the environment where I live. So I need you guys to realize that I made these choices, and it's great that there's ministries like this to help people who make choices like I made, because this could be your kids, your children. During high school, I didn't get involved in any drugs, any alcohol. I didn't throw any real big raging parties. My dad's here, so I have to say that. But I had a great business mind, and at the age of 16 years old, I started a legitimate mobile auto detailing business called The Ultimate Auto Detailing, and I landed 2 major accounts. Remember, I'm a sophomore in high school, and I landed Lasardi Construction and Hydro Plant. So there I am, 17 years old, and I'm making like $3,500, $4,000 a month. I was the only person in my school allowed to have a pager. And not just that, but when my pager went off, I was allowed to leave the class and handle my business calls because the principal and me had worked something out, for my business. I mean, I was doing really well. But at the age of 18, I really rebelled. I was like, I'm an adult now and I'm going to do what I want. And I had this vision of who I wanted to be, and unfortunately, it was a drug dealer. I don't know why, but when I watched Scarface, that was really like a glorious, that all the money and the women and all that stuff. So I started selling marijuana. And since I played guitar, I had run into a lot of people in the heavy metal bands and such in my high school, and I knew about 40 or 50 people that all smoked marijuana. So I started selling that. I didn't smoke it myself, but I started making money. I bought a little bit, like an $80 bag of marijuana, and learned how to bag it all. I had to learn all this because, again, I wasn't born into a neighborhood where I saw my bigger brothers or something like that doing this. I had to learn this stuff. But I did it, and I doubled my money and bought some more, and I doubled that money, and then I became what you would call a drug dealer. I didn't have like 18-wheelers coming in of the stuff, but I sold enough to make a living. And from there, the curiosity got the best of me, and I started using marijuana. And then that led to LSD, and that led to methamphetamine. Once I hit methamphetamine, I became a full-blown addict. The addiction, and I want to put it here, is I consider drugs in two different forms. You have party drugs and business drugs. Marijuana is like a party drug. No one's buying a $10 bag of marijuana and killing someone. But when you get into the white powder stuff, people will kill you over 10 bucks. And so it got a little dangerous. And again, I'm not from that type of environment, so I had to adjust. I had to learn and become who I wanted to be. And unfortunately, again, that was a drug dealer. I really wanted to be a drug dealer. And I became a drug addict. I stopped selling drugs, or I tried selling drugs, but I mostly used everything that I purchased. Had my first run-in with the law in 1994. Being the hardcore thug that I was, someone stole a laptop from me, and so I went to get it back with my BB gun. And it was, and he called the cops on me, you know? It was, so I went to a rehab for a year and got clean off of the methamphetamine. That didn't last, though. I started using again, and I'm getting older now, so the people that I'm hanging out with are actual convicts that are on the streets, and I'm getting tougher and tougher. And I started going in and out of rehabs, in and out of county jail. 1 night, 2 night, 3 night stays, nothing really long or extensive, but nonetheless, county jails. I was moving in and out of my family house, and just becoming a really, really, really bad person. I didn't care about anything. This one night, I was living at my mom and dad's house, and my mom gave me $10 to go get a glass of milk. A gallon of milk. And I go down supposedly to 7-Eleven to get a gallon of milk, and instead I bought some drugs. Well, I never went back home. And I don't know how many of you guys are parents, but imagine your kid not coming back home for 9 months, not making a phone call. I don't even, okay, 5 times I'm gonna cry. My mom thought I was dead, and I didn't care. And well, that's the type of person I became. So the last time that I was incarcerated was in the year 2007. I had become homeless. That's a picture of me right there. I was homeless in that picture. I was a complete drug addict. I was breaking into people's homes to steal money, to steal cars. I was breaking into cars and taking change out of the ashtray so I could buy drugs. That was the only set of clothes I owned. And I hadn't washed them in like a week. I hadn't been asleep for like 10 or 15 days in that picture when the cops picked me up. But that was the beginning of the calling of God on my life. In county jail, the chaplain used to walk by, and so I got a little Bible and started reading it like without anyone knowing. You know what I mean? Just, but it took hold. And by the time I was in county jail 6 months, by the time that 6 month ran out, I was preaching the gospel in county jail. And I don't know if any of you guys have been to county before, but the sinks are really nasty in county. You brush your teeth, you spit in them, you wash your underwear in them. And I was doing baptisms in them. Thank you. So one night we had a Bible study with all the different races, which is impossible in county or in prison. The blacks stay with the blacks, the whites stay with the whites. We were all together. And 3 people came to Christ, and I baptized all 3 of them in the county sink. Down they went and up they went, and I was not equipped to do this by any means, but I had a call. It was like God was telling me, son, I'm calling you to the ministry, and this is your training ground. So I went to Donovan State Prison. That's the level 4 yard reception, where they evaluate you and tell you what prison you're actually going to go to, and they're supposed to send me to Jamestown. Jamestown's a fire camp. That is sweet. You want to be in a fire camp if you're going to go to prison. So I'm on the bus going to the fire camp, right? And they have 3 stops to make. They stop at CRC Norco and tell me to get off. So I start arguing with the cop. This isn't my stop, and I'm not getting off the bus. Remind you, I'm in handcuffs, and he's got a shotgun, And he says this, son, you're going to get off this bus, or we're going to have some serious problems. And the shotgun goes up. Needless to say, I got off the bus and was escorted to dorm 209. Dorm 209, I walked in there with my bedroll, my coffee cup, and a Bible in my hand. And I sat down and I looked over, and the guy right next to me was reading his Bible. And I was just like, okay, this is going to be all right. Well, 2 weeks later, the ministry leader came up, and I hadn't told anyone I was a Christian. I don't believe in telling people I'm a Christian. I want my fruits to display that. I want people to see Christ living in me, and I want him to be glorified. And it's easy to say you're a Christian, but can you be one? And so I didn't say I was a Christian, but this guy came up and said, I was told that you're a Christian, and I wanted to know if you wanted a job up at the chapel. And so I went up and interviewed, and I got the job at the chapel. Now, there's no official waiting list for that job, but the unofficial one's about 3 years long. Everyone wants to work up at the chapel. It's an easy job. You know, they can do their drug dealings up there and not get caught. I got that job, and 2 weeks later, Karen Arango and Karen Hansen from Prison Fellowship came in and played a DVD introducing the Urban Ministry Institute. And I cried then too. I was like, you know, Lord, this is the wrong stop. I wasn't supposed to be at this prison, and here you are giving me a seminary level education for free. You're going to take me and train me to become a pastor. And what tonight's about, turning prisoners into pastors, that's what I am, you know. So there I was, and I got accepted into the Urban Ministry Institute, and it was hard, that first class. There was only 8 of us, 8 students, and we didn't have the finances that come in to give us all of our material, so us 8 students shared 2 books. We had 2 sets for 8 students instead of each inmate having their own books. And so those books had to stay up at the chapel. And to get to the chapel from prison is really, really hard because the cops are stopping you every second of the way. And if you have a job assignment you got to go to, or it's the wrong time, or there's anything going on, you can't get up there to do your reading. But we were hungry for the Word of God. So as 8 students, we were just thriving. We were bringing in this Word, this seminary level education, and we were taking it and using it out on the yards. And so we started like Bible studies in the dorms. We started church groups in the dorms. We went out to the yard. I remember this guy, and his actual name is Church, but he was preaching out on the yard, and there was like 200 or 300 people in the bleachers listening to him preach, you know. And he was a student, one of the 8 students. But today, I hear that there's 45 students in 2 classes in that prison with 30 on the waiting list to come in next module. 75. Can you imagine if 8 people going and discipling others can bring in 75 students? Remind you, the Urban Ministry Institute started in 2008. It's 2011 today, and we went from 8 students to 75 students. What is 75 students going to do on that prison yard? Bring in 250? In 10 years, could that entire prison be Christian? So today I graduated in June 25th at the World Impact of LA. Thank you. I'm also currently applying for my master's degree in theological studies at Veritas Seminary. I have a restored family, what my dad and mom, who would have nothing to do with me. My dad is here today, and my mom tried to make it, but she couldn't. My mentors, John and Cindy McGaffey, are here. My pastors, Pastor Earl and Assistant Pastor Phil, are here to encourage me. I chose to submit under people, and that's what I've done on the outside. And sometimes they correct me, and I don't appreciate it, but you know, it's the way it is. Today, I'm fully employed. I'm a TUMI mentor to 3 men now that are started their studies in prison and have gotten out. I'm also on the advisory board of the Urban Ministry Institute of the Inland Empire, which will start in January. I want to give you a story of Michael Ortega, who's one of the guys I'm mentoring. Michael Ortega was a 2-striker gang member who has gotten out, and he's continuing his studies with me. He has been sharing Christ for so fervently with his family that now his family goes to my church, his sister and his sister's fiance and their kids. But more than that, he was invited to speak at an at-risk youth seminar, and these kids related to him in such a way that the probation department now wants to pay him to become a mentor to these kids. See, the gift of the Urban Ministry Institute doesn't stop here. It's not like giving someone $10 and they buy a hamburger and eat and that gift stops there. And I know I don't want to diminish that gift, especially for someone who's hungry, but the Urban Ministry Institute continues to give 10 years from here, and it's just really, really awesome. So what else am I doing? I pastor and facilitate a home Bible fellowship in Murrieta on Tuesday nights. And I'm just a son to my mom and dad, Again, if you really want to see the proof in the pudding, the results of what the Urban Ministry Institute does, there it is. I just want to thank each one of you tonight for changing my life. Thank you.